comfortable sharing on top of your head, like, what is resilience? What is resilience today for you? And then now I'll give us some time to do a little bit more self-reflection. But if it's okay, the first thing that comes to mind, Hunter, can I ask you right now what would be the resilience?
Um, the first thing that comes to my mind would be like the saying, like the falling down 7 times but getting up 8. Um, yeah, that's what comes to mind.
Wonderful. And who do you pass it to?
I'll pass it to Sarah.
Um, I think when I think of resilience, I just think of like even when you face something hard that you like I guess come out the other side. Like even though you're going through things, you still like keep your head up. You still do the best you can given your circumstances. The best that you're able to do in those circumstances, no matter what. Like you don't just give up and let things like take over you. You do your best in each moment.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and I'll
Yeah.
pass it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and for me, just a little bit what I said in my sharing, it's resilience right now for me. It's that moment of stopping and regenerating your energy. So really finding within or without, no, in terms of reaching out for support, that's also part of resilience. But what is it that gives you that extra, like, boom, I'm back? No, I find the energy to stand up, or that hope. I heard hope in my mind as you were sharing, no, not to give up and not to identify with what's happening in order for you to decide, what's best for you. So I will now invite us, the three of us, into a self-reflection about, think about role models or personal experiences of resilience. And more than the story, let's try to identify behaviors, attitudes, beliefs, the components. What about how is it to show up with resilience? So I'll give us, say, 3 minutes to reflect about, again, role models, if it's other people or for yourself as well, um, experiences of resilience. Yeah. Okay.
I wrote like a list of qualities that I like see in like people I look up to that like show like resilience. Um, and like I wrote down like that they haven't given up no matter how hard it's gotten. And that like people that like recognize unhealthy habits and then they like choose to like work on those and then like find healthier habits instead. And then also like reaching out for help and like using resources that like are available to them. And then also like finding like support in like their friends and family. Yeah.
Wonderful. Great. So you pass it to me.
Yeah.
And so I reflected about this moment in which I told you that I've been kind of facing, I don't know, some kind of challenging emotions coming up. But I am showing up with resilience. And I think that in this sense, resilience is just an aspect of what it takes to grow, no, and to grow up, because that, it means kind of being responsible and responsive instead of reacting. And I think that it takes a self-confidence and apply. So it's great that reaching out, realizing when we need help, and reaching out, but also kind of applying what because as you grow, you learn tools or things that do work for you. So learning from your experience, so you can take the lessons and tools and apply them. And also kind of a belief, like a belief in self-worth, that there's a purpose in you, and that it's worth, you are not your circumstances, and that there's a purpose that inspires and even energizes you to move forward. And then I wrote, like, trust the process and a certain faith in the universe, like a befriending, like, I'm here, and the universe, if a friend of mine gave me a deck of cards that I love. It's like the universe has your back. So just trusting, if I do my part, the things will align and doors will open and the support will be there, and it's that way. So wonderful. Thank you. So then now I do want to share my screen, and I want to show us these components of resilience. And let's see. So this comes from a curriculum that's called Changing Minds, Changing Lives. It's a resilience curriculum from the University of Massachusetts that I love. So maybe I will, and so anyway, this is just one way of articulating the components of resilience, and it's 4. So I'll read the first, Hunter, Sarah, and then myself, and then I'll say a little bit more, and we'll go into another self-reflection. So the first component is active coping strategies. And these are strategies to recognize your personal and environmental resilience and promote your well-being. So active coping strategies. Hunter?
Building strength. Focus on the strengths you bring to the table. Identify how you can use your strengths on a daily basis. Sarah?
Cognitive awareness. Reflect on your habitual mindset and change automatic thinking so that it serves you. Sylvia?
Wonderful. And social support, create a mentor map so that you can quickly identify the lifelines you need and those you provide to others. So anyway, I really appreciate, this clarification of these kind of almost pillars. No, one is the tools, strategies, practices that can help you, that can help us. The other one is building on the strengths, recognizing that we come with already, strength and qualities. So I think that that's really, really important, and using our strength, kind of cultivating the muscle. Then cognitive awareness has a lot to do with mindset, and in the series I'm finding some really great frameworks and some growth mindset, fixed mindset, or learner judger. And today we are going to do an activity because I think that that's so important. No, even the attitude, even cognitive is more intellectual, but it speaks of an attitude. And then social support is super important. I love that quote that maybe you heard me before. You have to do it by yourself and you cannot do it alone. And that is true for us. And then it's great when we can also be there for others, no? Self and community care. So in a way, as I say, today's event, we are going to be doing an activity on cognitive awareness and then a little bit of a self-care, plan, including mapping the social support. But as we go into the series starting next week, will be, as you know, there will be activities around learning tools, but also a lot of self-reflection to start recognizing our strength and then fostering, a positive mindset and increasing the social support even by showing up here. So cognitive awareness, and this is a self-reflection, but a little bit of a teaching here, that they identify that at times we have some common styles of thinking. These are patterns that it's important to become aware that that they are present, and I don't necessarily like positive or negative, but certainly in this context, these common styles of thinking at times do not foster resilience. They get in the way of resilience. So all or nothing, overgeneralization, catastrophizing, and emotional thinking. And very briefly, all of nothing is when we say, oh, I never get it right, or they never do this thing for me, always or never. That's kind of an all or nothing type of pattern. Overgeneralization is when, because we have like one setup or something, somebody breaks our trust, and it's like, oh, all people like this are this way, right? Like making a generalization out of a one time experience. Catastrophizing is expecting the worst and making, worst case scenarios in our minds, and anxiety and fear, lead us into catastrophizing. And then emotional thinking, that I realized that I spent a lot of decades, like even as a child, my chronic depression had a lot to do actually with emotional thinking. Was that because you have like a more whatever constrictive or negative emotion, then you project your emotion into, this is the way things are, like I don't feel well, therefore i'm going to I'm going to be a failure in my class, right? Or if I'm afraid of something, then this is a dangerous situation. And maybe it's not a dangerous situation, but the fact that you have fear maybe is because in the past you had an experience that, something scary happened, etc. So then, the direction here is that, and as we go into the future also, know that when you are noticing distress, or when you start feeling agitated or something, ask yourself, what am I thinking that makes me feel stressed? Because as you know, at this point, it's never one thing. There are emotions, and then with our thoughts, we can help us kind of lower our anxiety or bring it more up. So I will invite us in a self reflection. But before going there, I would love to ask you, what do you think about the what I just said about, these common styles of thinking? Do you recognize them? How do you relate to this? Hunter, can I ask you first?
Yeah, I definitely do all of those things, like everything that's listed, like the all or nothing, overgeneralization, a lot of emotional thinking. That's that's like my like main way of thinking a lot of the time, and it's been like a journey trying to like change that. Um, but yeah, I like the trying to change it, like in the example, like nothing ever works for me or I can learn from my mistakes. It's like a really like mental thing, and like I've been like trying to change that. But yeah, I definitely get caught in that too. And I'll
Mm,
pass it to Sarah.
Um, yeah, I definitely like I think these are big. Like they can lead you exactly down the wrong path versus if you catch them, that can be like a lot more healthy and helpful. Definitely the catastrophizing and all or nothing is something I've had to like deal with, and I feel like I've been doing a lot of work to like catch those. Like not it's not like, oh, this is not the like just because I'm feeling something uncomfortable doesn't mean like I'm in danger. Like I can just acknowledge that that's something I'm feeling and then go from there. Like, okay, what is this trying to tell me? Or what is the situation trying to tell me? Or like what is the truth in like this like super broad statement that I'm saying? And like how can I think about this more healthfully? So yeah, I think these are big.
yes, thank you. So yeah, I agree. And remember, there's that graphic which I really like, that this little boy thinking I'm not good, and he's all sad and tearful, and then we are like, he's there's another image in which he's thinking, oh, I notice that I'm having these thoughts, that this is what I'm thinking. So it creates distance and the possibility of choose, no? So but the price to pay is self-reflection and inner work. And for some people, that doesn't belong to, I don't know, to the equation. But I think that the remedy is always to start by looking within, and realizing in the moment, getting ourselves out of the, the, how to say it, with the head in the glass of water, right? Like, hey, wait a minute. So anyway, so let's take some time now then to, even again, like 3 minutes, to think about a couple of challenging situations in which we have been lately, and or that we are still are, and those places in which we react or we don't feel good or whatever, and try to think about, okay, what's the thinking, that's causing the distress or accompanying, no? And then turn it turn it around and find something that would be helpful for you. Yes. So again, like 3 minutes for thinking about like 2 specific situations, if you can. And
Um, so I kind of just took this as like I thought of like some unhealthy thoughts that I've had in these situations and like kind of a healthier one that I can try to do instead that sometimes I was successful in doing instead. And sometimes it's harder, but like definitely ones I want to shift to. So I kind of just thought about last quarter when I was really struggling to stay on top of my schoolwork and I felt like I was really falling behind. I kind of have this thought that it's like I'm a horrible student and I'm gonna fail and then I'm gonna have to, like I'm not gonna be able to keep going to this college and then, just like that spiral of things that are gonna go super wrong, which, catastrophizing and it's kind of aspects of a lot of those. And kind of shifting that to like I'm facing a lot of challenges right now that make like academic performance more difficult to stay on top of. So instead of being like, this is gonna go horribly, just be like, it's hard right now and that's okay. And then it's like, what can I do about it? What steps can I take practically to do my best I can given my circumstances and not trying to like wish they weren't there, but work with them as they are. And then another situation I thought of is just like more so with like my just like health problems I face, just like things are never gonna get better. Like I'm always gonna feel horrible. I'm always gonna have to deal with this stuff. But instead just thinking like the situation right now is really uncomfortable. And then just thinking like what are the things that are within my control to help alleviate it? So like what things can I do to actually help some of it, even if I can't change the fact that it's happening to me. Again, there's things I can do about it, like trying to exercise regularly, trying to sleep well, trying to build healthy habits and break unhealthy ones. Um, just controlling what I can control and not trying to resist what just is. So yeah, I'll pass it to Hunter.
beautiful, thank you.
Um, I mainly focused on like one situation. I talked about how I was really nervous for this like new quarter to start. And so it's like a few days ago, I was like already like really overthinking everything that was gonna happen and I was like assuming the worst. I like thought kept thinking like, oh, like this is like going to be the same as all the other online quarters, like, oh, it's another online quarter. Like I don't learn like great in this way. Um, but I started like I thought maybe like a more helpful thought would be like remembering that every quarter is different and that I can't just automatically assume that it's going to be like the same as like my like past quarters. And I have to also like remember that there's like resources available to me and that it's not I just can't automatically assume things before I know like all the things that are going to happen. So, and I'll pass it to Sylvia.
Wonderful, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I also, for myself, I focused on one situation, which was, as I shared a little bit during the break, that though I've had some moments of feeling like really kind of down and tearful and sad, and so kind of feeling old stuff coming up. And yeah, some of the thinking is like, oh, I'm here already again, and I will never feel happy again, and kind of a feeling of disconnection, right? And kind of as I say, here I'm again, like when I was like 5, But the more helpful thought is that I do have grief work to do, and that is healing work to do. So there is light at the end of the tunnel, and as when I do the grief work, or I heal. So I know that I heal, and that I feel better, and I regain energy, and I grow. So anyway, that's been helpful to realize the thinking. So wonderful. Okay, so then now we are going to talk a little bit about care, no, and about caring. And I think that, Sarah, maybe you've seen this. I mean, I really love this. It's a graphic article, "The Unspoken Complexity of Self-Care" by Diana Zant, and I love how she identifies kind of self-care and self-soothing as a kind of an individualistic and personal responsibility for how we feel. But then she also talks about community care and how it's imperative that we learn to be there for one another. And that means reaching out for support and reaching out to extend support when, and learning how to do that in a respectful way. And then structural care. So I just want to review the self and community care as opening this conversation, and then eventually we'll go into thinking about ourselves. So so Hunter, I'll read the quote, and then if you can read this self-care and self-soothing. But I don't know if you know Audre Lorde. She was a writer and an activist, and she said, "Caring for myself is not self-indulgence; it's self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare." And I think that she's speaking to, like kind of some people feeling, it's particular women who, by their role, cultural role, to put everybody else first, and that at times taking care of yourself is selfish, because there's always people needing things from women in particular. And she's saying, it's real. And I really believe that it's a political thing these days, to have boundaries and to honor your needs and to be proactive about, caring for yourself. So then, Hunter, can you please read self and care and self-soothing?
Self-care. Activities that help you find meaning and that support your growth and groundedness. These include going to therapy, napping, eating well for your body, meditating, taking ownership of your finances, getting medical care, a massage, setting and keeping boundaries, yoga, saying yes and no when you really mean it, and exercise. And then self-soothing, activities that provide distraction and or comfort in difficult times. TV binging, bubble bath, fancy beverages, singing loudly, exercise, cuddling, time off from home responsibilities and childcare, fresh flowers, and getting into nature.
Yes, wonderful. So anyway, write down whatever you think, if you are getting some ideas. But basically, right, some things are like really important, and others is just like even just going through the moment, doing the more like rapid response type of intervention. So then the other one is community care. So Sarah, can you please read this?
Yeah, community care. Um, should I read the top little bit?
Sure, yes, just to.
Okay. Community care, workarounds for systems that don't inherently support care. Child care, which can be education collectives, dignified supportive healthcare orgs, worker-owned corporations and co-ops, intimate relationships, credit unions, free cycle and buy nothing groups, co-housing, skill sharing, and mutual aid.
Great, yeah. So I think that the issue of community care is coming up, and it feels really important for me to address it as I do, self-care and resilience. And so then, but then the question is, how do we practice community care? So here are some values. So I will invite us. I'll start reading the first two lines, and then Hunter, Sarah, and then again, and then I will ask us to choose two or three that we think that could be helpful as we go into the new quarter. So anyway, I'll start reading, and then Sarah, I will ask you to go next. So collectivism, democratize the space, listen to our bodies, emotions are good information. Sarah.
Critical connections over critical mass, multiplicity, mutual aid, move in cycles with nature. Hunter.
Trust, lived experience, and ancestral wisdom make power accessible, conflict as growth. Sylvia.
Great. More questions than solutions. Be open to possibilities. Right to deep growth, and center and reimagine rest. And Sarah.
Lean into the messy, abundance mindset, move at the speed of trust, and normalize failure.
Wonderful. So now I'll ask you to take a look and choose like two or three that you think that it would be an edge for you, but it's like, oh, these are two or three things that I can do, as I say, with the intention of also bringing that into the circles, our families, or schoolwork, or workplace, and I'll just I don't know, just I won't even time like one minute or so.
Yeah. So the ones that stood out to me, actually like all of these kind of like connected, but the ones that stood out to me the most were emotions are good information, um, make power accessible, conflict as growth, more questions than solutions, move at the speed of trust, and normalizing failure. Those all kind of stuck with me. Like those really stood out. Especially I think like emotions are good information. Because that's like something I'm still learning is like trusting your emotions and like what you can learn from them. But yeah, and I'll pass it to Sarah.
Yeah, there's definitely some of these that I feel like I practice pretty well, and there's other ones that it's like I definitely could work on them. One of the ones that some of the ones that stood out to me was democratize this space, and I feel like that's something I could definitely work on doing. Just like making sure everyone's voices are heard, especially those that are like usually overlooked. I feel like I could definitely play like more of a role in situations where people might listen to me but not another person to make sure that they're heard too. I feel like that's an important thing I could try to work on.
Oh, beautiful.
And not that necessarily like don't do it. I just don't do it very consciously, and I could probably be more conscious about it. And then I think another thing I need to work on is definitely like normalizing failure and leaning into messy, especially for myself, but then also then because I feel like I do it for others, but then also trying to do that for myself, and helping others to do that for themselves. Um, Definitely being open to possibilities and conflict as growth, I feel like are ones that if we could help normalize and help people to see and understand and learn to do, that those could help a lot of different like problems that we face, even as like a larger society. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, I thought about like three contexts. In terms of family, I'm going through some very difficult situations in my family, with my family of origin. But seeing conflict as growth instead of right or wrong, or at the level. So conflict as growth and leaning to the messy. It's like, okay, let's practice some community care values. So that's helpful. And for my relationship with community, I really like the move at the speed of trust, and instead of outcome driven, to really focus on how much trust. So seeing the relationship as a container for whatever can happen, no more than, I say, more than the outcome. And then in my personal life, to have an abundance mindset and being open to possibilities, that that could be a really great way of showing up, appreciating what I do have, and sharing that, and fostering, in particular, health. No, I think that it's really important to help each other see what we do have and what we can do, and to cultivate the good that can happen in the midst of this such a crazy time. This second part, the agenda, is that I'm going to invite you into a guided meditation visualization to turn inside, just to check in with yourself, how you're doing, what's going on in your mind, in your body, in your emotions. And then I will give us time. I'll show my slides to think about the quarter, and to have a little bit of at a glance, what are the stressors, how it's impacting you, and thinking about self-care, and reaching out for support, what might be needed. And then that will be towards the main part of this module. So then, as I say, I invite you now to sit comfortable. If you want to leave your video on, or if you want to it off, but it's just taking a moment or two to to start switching from the attention from outside yourself to checking in with yourself and paying attention to what is happening now without needing to control anything. Just noticing and receiving this moment as it is. And I'll invite you and to take the opportunity to listen to yourself right now, to listen to your internal experience, and noticing a willingness to receive the moment as something new, and being present to your experience, whatever that is. Noticing the breath and anchoring your attention on your breath and letting yourself receive the breath as it comes in through the nose and out through the nose or through the mouth. And if your mind wanders, just bringing it gently to your breath for a moment. And see if you can experience resting your attention on your breath. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. Just welcoming yourself into this moment. And then letting your attention come into the body. And letting the awareness come to the level of sensations in the body. Not thinking about sensations, but feeling directly the physical sensations of being in your body. Maybe noticing the feet on the floor, the hands as they touch, sensations of being sitting on a chair or on a pillow. And see if you can feel the support of the ground, the support of the chair, and receiving that support. How does it feel in your body to receive that support? And noticing what sensations are present. Maybe sensations of the chest moving as the breath comes in and out. Sensations in the neck, the weight of the head. Noticing the awareness and sensation meeting moment to moment, constantly changing with the breath. And again, noticing or listening to what is present in your body. Maybe there are vibrations, pulsations, sensations of pressure, hot or cold. How does it feel to be in your body? Just noticing and receiving. And even asking your body for a moment if there's any message that your body has for you. And really deeply listening to it. Maybe even taking a moment to thank your body for being there and doing their work, their job. Taking a deep breath in. Now with the out breath, turning your attention to the mind, to your mind. Thinking arises uninvited. At times we think we do the thinking, but if we pay close attention, maybe we can even notice how thoughts come and go like clouds. Your mind is like a wide open sky. And then thoughts are like clouds. So just watch naturally how each thought appears, passes by, and how they end. And maybe another spontaneously, the next thought begins. And nothing to hold on to, but just noticing any thought that may be calling your attention. What is going through your mind right now? Is your mind thinking about the past, something that you were doing before coming here or during the break, or something pending? Are you thinking about the future, about what's coming? Or maybe some thoughts about what we're doing here? Just noticing expectations, ideas, concerns, stories. Just noticing what is present, what is occupying space in your mind. Taking a deep breath. And maybe you can ask your mind if there's any message that they have for you. And then taking another breath and thanking your mind for holding your thoughts and being open even to receiving new thoughts. Taking a deep breath. And now with the next out breath, turning your attention to your heart. And if you want, you can place a hand on your heart, just resting your attention there for a moment and allowing feelings to arise, just for this moment. Just becoming curious and noticing what feelings are present. And staying present to whatever feeling is present or whatever feelings arise. And noticing moments of pleasure or displeasure, liking or disliking. What emotions do you notice? Fear, shame, anger, doubt, happiness, peace. And notice, how is the mind calling the feelings? Noticing, do your feelings have a voice? Do they have a color, a texture? Are there stories behind the feelings? And most importantly, feeling the energy of the emotions. Do your emotions change, or they are still? Is there a wanting to push away certain feelings or hold on to them? And where in your body do you experience them? Maybe it's in the heart, but maybe they live somewhere else. Different feelings or emotions in different parts of your body. Just taking a moment to welcome, to acknowledge and really accept whatever is present. Now taking a moment to ask your heart if there's any message for you that they want to tell you. And taking another deep breath and thanking your heart for holding all those feelings and emotions. Taking a deep breath. And now, like, extending the awareness from your heart into back to your whole body again. Taking deep breath and just becoming present. And even still with your eyes closed, see if you can expand your awareness to include there are other people or living beings, a pet or a plant in your room, wherever that is, or in your household, whoever is present, including them in your awareness. And without still opening your eyes, including each other, noticing that we are here in a little virtual circle. And then right now, if you can consider that you're paying 100% attention to yourself, or a little bit to my voice, but if you're paying attention to yourself, in a moment I will invite you to open your eyes, but please keep like say 30 or 35% of this yummy nurturing energy, keep that inside yourself. This is like watering your self-awareness. And this is your own medicine, always. So now you can kind of, maybe if you want to start moving a little bit your head or rolling your shoulders, stretching yourself. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes. Okay, so now I am going to share my slides, and after the break. So now we are going to do take a 5-minute time for thinking about this quarter. So you can say 2021. So here it's an invitation to think about 4 things. So the first one is think about the stressors, meaning problems, concerns, challenges, COVID in the family or friend, whatever it is, everything, all the stories that, that occupy space mainly in your mind, these are facts or concerns that you have. So it's good to name them, put them on paper. Then the second is about the impact. How is that impacting you? And the impact is on your body, your mind, your heart, and your soul. So stressors are stories, but the impact is present. It's not in the past. It's what you carry in your personal experience. So maybe you are overthinking, or you feel sad, or you're withdrawn, or whatever it is, that the impact of those stressors. So then once you name, how it's impacting you in your body, mind, and heart, the last 2, the next one is self-care. Then what can you do for yourself, right, to address the impact of the stresses on your experience? What can you do for your body, for your mind, heart, and soul? And then the fourth is mapping your community support network and circles of care that you're a part of. So it's all, again, here, this is where, remember what we read at the beginning of the components of resilience, that we need each other to move through. So think about your own support people, mentors, family members, friends, people who love you, service providers, etc. But also the ways in which we are there for others, and we are part of communities of care. So I will give you 5 minutes for doing this. Yeah.
So I wrote that for my stressors that I can foresee would be procrastination, and then feeling unmotivated and discouraged, and also falling into an unhealthy mindset during the school year, and the impact that would have on me. would be like less energy, feeling less focused, and like feeling discouraged, feeling sad, and just like feeling like overall just like more tired, I think.
Mhm.
Um, and then, but like for self care, exercising more regularly, I think I've like found that helps me relieve like a lot of stress. So like, I think like staying to like a strict schedule for that, and then like eating healthy foods, and then like checking in and like keeping in touch with friends and family, and like doing like hobbies that make me happy, like reading, and for like mapping my support network, that'd be like this space, and then like my family and friends, and like my coworkers, and then like even like my classmates, could help me stay like more motivated and on task, like also hearing, and it just like helps me hearing like what everyone else is going through too, and like I think
Mhm.
that's like we can connect through that.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'll pass it
Wonderful.
to Sarah.
Yeah, I feel like this was really good for me to kind of sit here and write out like all the stresses I can think of and all the impacts and self-care and community support network. It's kind of nice to have this, get it out of my head and have it on paper,
Mhm.
these whole like list of things. So just some stressors would be like classwork, just health issues I'm going through mentally and physically. Um, Still like, trying to not use my phone too much, having unhealthy sleeping, procrastination, and then also just the general like current process of trying to break unhealthy habits and trying to build new ones in their place that are healthier. That can be stressful because that's a huge like changes to go through. Um, Trying to connect with peers at UCSC, especially since it's online, and then just kind of like other general like world happenings like COVID stuff and political stuff, and like having to hear about that and being worried about things. And some of the impact of that can be like stress, anxiety, different physical symptoms. Can get into like mental spaces that aren't healthy, confusion. You can get like frustrated, tired. It's kind of like a lot of things. Which again, it was nice to kind of go through and think through how some of these things can affect me. And then just some self care. I kind of just wrote down like a lot of different things I can do, like journaling, exercising regularly, just taking like medicine that I have, going to bed early, doing things that I enjoy, like listening to lo-fi music or watching like YouTube, but like only like occasionally, not like watching it too much. Definitely like spending time on skills and things that I want to build. And then also just like general like hygiene. And then for like support network, I kind of just thought of like I definitely want to establish like a therapist in this quarter. I could definitely reach out to like professors and my TAs when I need academic support. I have my parents and my brothers to come to. I can talk to my friends if I need support. There's a lot of resources at this school that I can access, mentors around me, groups like this, and also like the college group at my church that I can go to. I get a lot of support from. Yeah, so those are kind of the main things I thought of.
Wonderful. Great. You are ready to go. And yes, wonderful. So I realized that I didn't do this activity, but I echo, I mean, health problems, attitude, needing to work on that. And I think, as I say, the grief, there's a lot of grief that I'm tuning into, past, present, and even future, since I'll be doing that work. So I think that for me, feeling all my feelings is a practice that I'm engaging, and not being afraid of what I'm feeling, and then reaching out for support and being there for others. It feels kind of community building as an important medicine for me right now. So wonderful. Okay, so we are coming to the end-ish. So there are two more things. One is that I would love for us to read these affirmations, and you see that there are different colors. So I'll ask Sarah to read two, Hunter, me, Sarah, like that. And then let's choose two or three. They are really good, and share those. So Sarah, can you start, and then Hunter, and then me. And just one thing, these are 10 affirmations for navigating uncertain times. And there's a training program on Canvas, the Radical Resilience Training Program from module 3, mind, and Sarah will send you the information about how to access this module. So these come from there. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So I acknowledge myself for doing the best that I can as I adapt to a lot of change, and I allow myself to turn my empathy inward and nurture my deeper needs. I'll pass to Hunter.
I invite breath as I move through the ebbs and flows of this changing time. I release the need to be perfect and productive. I allow myself to adjust day by day. Sylvia.
Wonderful. It's okay for me to take space to reflect and understand my needs. I am not alone in this experience. I invite myself and others to share their experience. Sarah?
I give myself permission to slow down and surrender to this change. And I am grateful for my body's innate resilience, which is helping me navigate this time. Hunter?
I find small ways to create safety and control. I let go of what I cannot change. I trust that we are capable of finding our way through this one moment at a time.
Wonderful. So take a look and choose one or two or three, and then let's share. Let's take a moment to do this, and then I'll go first, and then Hunter, and then Sarah. And if you want, you can write it down also. So the ones that I love them all, but the ones that really speak to me at this moment is the number 5. It's okay for me to take space to reflect and understand my needs. So that, as I was saying, no, listening and giving space for that. And number 8, I'm really grateful for my body's innate resilience, which is helping me to navigate this time. So being really grounded in those resources. Hunter?
The ones that are like really important to me, I think, would be the first one. I acknowledge myself for doing the best that I can and that I can as I adapt to a lot of change. And then I release the need to be perfect and productive. I allow myself to adjust day by day. And then also, which one was it? Oh, I find small ways to create safety and control. I let go of what I cannot change. I'll pass it to Sarah.
Yeah, those ones definitely stood out to me a lot too, especially number 1 and number 4. Like acknowledging myself for doing the best as I adapt to change, definitely, because I'm in the midst of the process of trying to change a lot of things in my life. So just acknowledging that I'm doing my best, and also trying not to be perfect in that, just going day by day as I build those habits. And then just some other ones that stood out to me, like definitely reminding myself that I'm not alone and that others, like I can invite myself and others to share their experience. I feel like that's such a big thing when you're going through things, is not falling into the trap of the false idea that you're alone, because you never are. There's always people dealing with it too. And it's okay to open up about that, and you might find people that are also going through it. And that can give you a lot of hope in those things. And then also give myself, number 7, I give myself permission to slow down and surrender to the change. So definitely, like as I'm making changes, to just take breaks, check in, not just like keep going through the flow, but to actually like check in with myself as I'm going through it. And then the last one, which is I trust we're capable of finding a way through this one moment at a time. So just reminding myself that I can get through each thing that I face, just take it one step at a time, break it down into each little step. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. And this reminds me, these are affirmations. And remember at the beginning, we read the components of resilience and the active coping strategies. And, affirmations are a strategy, but affirmation is not like fooling yourself, like, oh, everything is great and I'm really happy, when you are not. But we did the cognitive awareness activity in which we identify, our own kind of, patterns or not so helpful, and turning them into a helpful way, so we can practice that. So if when we realize that we are kind of starting to get triggered about something, it's a good practice to stop and to ask ourselves the question that we read at the beginning. No, it's like, oh, what are the thoughts, and then how we can turn them into something more helpful, like this one. No, it's okay for me to take time instead of, oh, I'm freaking out because I don't feel good. It's like, well, it's okay to take time and try to understand. So anyway, so the very last, as a closing, Sarah, do you have this handout, or I don't know if you
Um,
have seen, we share this at some events.
yeah, I remember it. I think I still have it saved
Yeah.
somewhere.
I could put it in the chat too. Let me
Yeah,
find it.
so I mean, there are like 3 pages, and there's a lot here. So, you know, I think that they are all good. But, even if we can take so maybe I'm thinking aloud, so take time a little bit to go through these and choose one or two things that you think that would be helpful. But as a closing, I'll invite you to share. I mean, one, it's always good to check in with yourself after spending almost 2 hours together. How do you feel? And maybe something that you appreciated from the event, and something that you're taking away, like those two things, something that was good about coming together and something that is helpful as you go out. And then, as I say, I don't know if you want to take a look at this. Um, and again, there are like 3 pages, so I don't know. So I'll.